Thank you so much for being with us, Consumer Councilwoman, today. I was wondering if I could ask you to talk a little bit about in Senate Bill 647, Section 3. I appreciate this section. It looks at the same policy lever that I have bills introduced to address. They took a different angle than I would. And so I want to just ask a little bit about it. So the way it's drafted right now, it removes payment to the utility companies for the CLMM program. I see why they did that, because the annual price tag of $200 million is it's the shiny object. I think it makes a lot of sense for us to look here. What draws my attention in this is that the utility companies are administering this program, and it's not totally clear to me that we have key performance indicators or like a causal link on the return on investment. So theoretically, the CLMM programs are supposed to create either $2 to $5 ROI for dollar spent. And so I think it seems like in this discussion, we've all sort of agreed that when that math is working the way it's supposed to, this is an excellent investment. And it's spending, it would be penny wise and pound foolish to eliminate a program that did that work because it offers savings. But I'm wondering if structurally, the way that we are currently running this program makes the most sense in protection of the ratepayer's investment. And what my specific policy proposal had been is let's not have the utility companies run it. Have a nonprofit. The Green Bank, I don't know if would want me to say this, but have the Green Bank run the program. Have someone who's not going to profit off of investment. And then tie the money spent to the realized return on investment. So they get a return on investment for money spent in the way that I'm seeing the program administered right now, not necessarily for demonstrable proof that dollars spent resulted in ratepayer savings and load management appropriately. So is there a way to take this idea and move forward in a way that we can, maybe $200 million could go a whole lot further if it was administered differently, or maybe we could save $50 million, which I'll just for those watching from home is $1.40 a month on your bill. It's not a huge savings, but it could be really effective for that money to be leveraged the way it was meant to be leveraged if it's not being leveraged. And maybe it is being leveraged exactly as it's supposed to be. Maybe every dollar spent in that program is getting the maximum return on investment. I'm not sure that's the case, but are we collecting enough performance indicators to know that it's effective? And is the utility company the most effective administrator of that program? And is there a better way for us to do that so that $200 million goes further, or we could save some?
Thank you for the question and the comments. So the OCC plays a significant role in the Energy Efficiency Board. We actually hold the vice chair seat. My colleague, J.R. Viglione, who's here, I don't know if you want to come up and talk a little bit about the significant benefit cost analyses that are taking place. I think just briefly, there are, the EEB is, there is consultant driven. So even though the EDCs are implementing the programs, they're being told what to do. Essentially, hopefully, JR, you'll think that's a fair representation. So the combination of the cost effectiveness evaluations that are ongoing, as well as the role of sort of third-party expertise, I do think helps ensure that our programs are efficient and award-winning. Now, that's not to say there isn't room for improvement. Certainly would love to sit down with you and hear your ideas about areas that we could be exploring in more detail. We've talked about, more detailed auditing. There are audits that are done. I think we referenced this in testimony a couple weeks ago with respect to another bill. There are audits that are done of the EDCs on their performance, but if there are areas that you might review it and see we need to audit in other ways, we're open to that. So I don't want to be overly, we're open to improvement always, but given the structure, it could be challenging. JR, did I cover it, or
Yeah, so John Viglione with the Office of Consumer Counsel. I think you summed it up well. I would also add that, the EDCs and DEEP are in the process of going through an optimization plan for the budget. So making sure that, like you said, every dollar spent is being spent to the best of its ability. And that is a ongoing process right now.
And I'll add, just to add, I did recently spend a little time on NYSERDA's website, and they, the New York sort of energy efficiency entity, and they do some reporting in an effective way, and I think that we could bring some of those ideas into our programs as well. So that's just one example of thinking, and certainly open to other feedback.
One of the things that one of these reports on the efficacy of the program was just released late last week, and it's 80 pages, so I haven't really fine-tooth combed through the whole thing yet. But one of the things that I realize is that I think that some of the assumptions in the calculation of ROI are based on assumptions like a swap out for this kind of light bulb for this kind of light bulb results in this savings. But we're not actually auditing if those savings are being realized light bulb for light bulb spend. So there is no real accountability in that sort of minutia of what is happening. And so there really is no good way for us to determine if every dollar spent in purchasing the bulbs that are swapping it out in per foot of insulation addition is returning the investment that it's intended to return in sort of the load. It doesn't seem like we have that causal or tighter correlated data. It looked to me like the report was based on assumptions of calculations of theoretically this number of light bulbs administered should have resulted in this amount of savings, this amount of feet of insulation should have resulted in this amount of savings, and we weren't the report didn't appear to go to the level of accountability that I would have expected. Did we actually see a load shift corresponding to what we would anticipate there? And that's the thing that I am missing, because I want to make sure that each dollar for dollar is leveraged. And then just fundamentally speaking, I feel like the level of tiering in administration could raise a question, like why, you have all of these different levels of business that obviously are making some benefit to their shareholders or their businesses' bottom lines for participation. And is there a way to remove a tier from that and offer ratepayer savings if you worked directly to the businesses, or there was a way to work more directly to a nonprofit that didn't have to report to shareholders the benefit of administering that program, even with that strong level of oversight? Is there just a way to do it with a little bit more efficiency? And I think what I'm getting at is a little wonky maybe for where we are at right now, but I just think that there's a lever here that's been appropriately identified. The dollar amount draws attention. So if there's a way, if we take each of the big ticket items and say, okay, fundamentally we agree that this should be working and it is working. Is it getting to the maximum amount we want it to? Is it running with the efficiencies, returning the investment it's meant to be? And then do we really know, can we really account for that level? And if we can't, then what metrics do we put in place to make sure that we can be accountable to that level?
No, I certainly support your efforts for more granular data. It's the challenge to me. It sounds like we would need to tie back to specific customers and their usage, really, to really get that precise. And
it seems to me that since the utility companies are the ones administering the program, they should be able to say, deployed to this house, here is the reduction in utilization at that house post-program intervention. And that should be very easy to report in an audit. Did it work?
Any further thoughts on that, Jay?
I would just say that some efficiency measures are a lot easier to measure than others. Just take, for example, if you do efficiency on an oil heated home, if they don't have a meter on their oil tank, we do have to make some assumptions about what the efficiency measures anticipate to save, because there's really no hard there's no way to go back without additional, technology that the customer would have to adopt.
Certainly, but like when you do the home energy efficiency, you do like a pre-post, like the fan test thing. Like those results, is that level of benefit house for house reported in that level of granularity? I didn't see that in the report that I saw, and so that's what I'm asking to see to just ensure that we are being the best fiduciaries possible. And I know we're trying to be. So I'm just trying to sort of elucidate, like, do we have the right accountability metric to make sure that this $200 million, which is a giant sum of money, is giving us the best bang for our buck?
Yeah, no, and I fully support your efforts and thought, and happy to continue this conversation afterwards and look through the report together and see if there are additional opportunities for scrutinizing.